this thing on.
Love Calgary. I think we were there in 2015, played a show, somewhere around there. I'm not sure. And I sure hope we can play Canada again. Our last tour we did was, I think, around 2016, 2017. Yeah, around there. And it was fantastic. Much more fun and bigger. And I remember we made a lot of money on t-shirts that year. Oh, Canada. Awesome. We hope to come back. Right now I'm having too much fun in the UK, but I'll be back. Changes from year to year, day by day. I think you hear this from a lot of artists. Okay, money, survival, there's so many reasons, and big reasons. Not so many, but there's a couple of important reasons. But usually, it's that thing of you have a record deal, you have a schedule, you get some money to do your record, you look at the date of the record, and sometimes you need to, that date, you need to get the record started by this date to pay a credit card bill or a bank overdraft for your company or yourself, or payments or food, or like, it depends on what level of career you're at, what stage. So a lot of times money has got to be in the top of the list for, where was the question again? You know, Brett, where are you? Gratifying. Yeah, so sometimes you're doing it because you need the money, but it all comes down to, and sometimes you have to do it because of your contract and your schedule, but also times I mean, always you're doing the music part for yourself. You should be doing that for yourself. I think it's proven in history that when you try to write a hit song, usually, unless you're writing with a hit writer and you have a big company behind you, it's not going to be a hit song. Like the big albums, the big songs usually come from true artistic forms. Two people sitting down and writing together in a bathroom or a bedroom or a dressing room or a bus or a hotel. And that is the most gratifying part. It's like, sometimes you have to do it quicker, which takes away from the art sometimes or makes it better. And there's other reasons why you have to get it done and need to. But it always starts at the artistic thing. If you're just doing it to make a hit record, I don't think it works well. Even the big pop stars, a lot of them will spend more money and less time on a record and get more writers involved, and rarely you see the artist get bigger. So I think, yeah, the gratifying part is when you write the actual song and you like it. If you like it, then everything else is a bonus. That album is part of that 22 title deal I did with Ear Music and Adel, so that eventually is coming out. It's taken its time. I thought it'd be out by now, but it's slowed down a bit. But it's all coming out, along with a lot of the other records. I'm glad you're asking about that one. That's the least liked Annihilator record, experimental style. Yeah, Surfing with the Alien. That was a big thing you'd hear on the radio, and all our guitar player friends would be playing it all the time. And then, of course, he jumps to the Van Halen kind of tribute tour recently. Thoughts? Amazing. Yeah, good. Number 2, how do I get inspired for each record? The schedule sometimes depends, like I was saying before, schedule sometimes depends on the contracts, the need for money, the not need for money, musicians' schedules, singers flying in, tours booked. There's a lot of things that will change, and that can fuck up your inspiration too. So I think at a certain point, being the main writer of this stuff, definitely I lose inspiration. It's like up and down. You got to get inspired. I mean, one record I did in '99 called Criteria for a Black Widow. I was kind of in a rut for 1 or 2 albums before, but simply just going to see Slayer in concert on a Thursday or Wednesday night in Vancouver completely gave me inspiration, and I wrote a heavy album and it did very well, and we started to go back up in sales again. So anything from seeing my old heroes to just listening to a new type of music sometimes inspires me. For American Kaos project, that's exactly what happened. My inspiration was through the roof, because now Priest was not the inspiration. Slayer was not. Maiden, these bands, Exodus, they weren't my inspiration anymore because they've been my inspiration for like 35, 40 years. Now with American Kaos, I would go back to my old records and the old music I listened to before metal, and they became my new inspiration, which was like awesome. And then I've got all of that out. It's done. I'm finished. 3 albums. I've got all my other musical things out of my system, so done. Good. Don't have to write anymore. Do nothing. I'll retire. Sit on an island somewhere. I think I will do, just for fun, and because a lot of people ask me, I think I will go back and do some, I'm looking at my wife saying, "Hon, I think you have to write this down." I'm gonna go back in the studio sometime in 2025, early, and sort of do a walkthrough of how I do what I'm doing, because everybody has a different style, and people have asked me for decades, how do you start from the beginning recording, well, like Bill is, how do you record and what's your way of doing it? And everybody has different ways. But you can always learn from everyone, right? So maybe I'll do that, so maybe somebody learns one little thing from me. But as far as this stems from the actual records that Annihilator have done, the early ones are lost. I think some masters were burned up in a fire that people heard about, I think with Universal Records, I think it was, UMG, I can't remember what company. But the company that had the original Annihilator CDs, I think they burned up in a fire, so those are done. And I never used or liked stems. I would always mix old school analog through a console and mix it to 2-track. So there are no stems, if that makes sense. I was a rebel. I said, I'm not going to do what everybody else is doing. So there are no stems. There you go. But I would like to do a sort of walkthrough just in case anybody wants to see what I've been doing for 35 years. Good question, Bill. Well, the simple answer is absolutely not. I could never stand up on the stage with those people, because they're, especially Paul Gilbert, like, they're all great. Because I'm not that kind of guitar player. These guys are, if you look at the names here, right? I'm kind of more of a rhythm guitar songwriter who happens to play lead guitar. I'm not this cover of the magazine lead guitar guy that's looking, you know, at Image or trying to be on the covers of the magazines as a lead guitar god, that kind of stuff. I'm kind of more in the, just write the songs, play the rhythms, and do the solo where we need to do the solo. So I'm kind of not at that level. I'm not a guitar player that can go on stage and jam with a band and just make things up. These guys are geniuses at it. I have to know what I'm doing to play with another band, so I don't usually do that kind of thing. I have to practice a lot for it, but different kind of band, right? Different kind of player. Good question. Never Neverland and Alice in Hell. Will we do that album live, and will the first album, Alice in Hell, be released in physical format? Because it was live streamed this summer, this last summer. We did the Alice in Hell 35th anniversary concert, but it was a live stream. That we don't have the rights. We had the right to stream it, but not the right to release it. Our current record company could release it, but they haven't asked to do it. They might want to, but if they don't, that's why the live stream was important, because we said it was only going to be live streamed and we wouldn't re-release it. So we probably won't. Never Neverland 35th anniversary in 2025. So if we were going to do that album, it would be next year, and I'm not sure. We're still looking for Coburn, singer from that record, to see if he was able to. He's going to be in his 60s, and I don't know if he's been singing for 20, 30 years, and I haven't even been able to talk to him for a few years. So if we find him and he's healthy and he would do it, maybe we do that album. And Stu Block, our American Kaos, and the singer for Annihilator that did the live stream this summer, he would be our live singer for Annihilator if we play again. If and when Annihilator do any shows, it would be Coburn would maybe sing some songs from Never Neverland, but Stu would be the Annihilator singer. Him and I have been talking about that for years, and we both sort of have an unofficial agreement that if we do go do more shows, Stu would be the singer. So yeah, definitely. This one won't interest anyone except one person. This is an old school mate of mine who became a cop, and I think he retired now, Steve. Hi, Stephen. And he's from Ottawa, like I am originally, Ottawa, Canada. And he's asking me what's the best part of the cottage that my father built. Now in Ontario, Canada, that was something that everybody strived to have later in life. And as a kid, you would always have a friend that was going up to the parents' cottage for the summer. And the cottage was basically by the lake, and there was boats, water skiing, windsurfing, aquacats, Hobie cats, sailboating. It's the Canadian, Eastern Canadian thing to do in Quebec and Ontario, is to go to your cottage. I think what Steve's referring to is he remembers that his favorite thing was something very bouncy. And I'm like, what's he talking about? But I know what he means. Our neighbors at the cottage next door had a trampoline. Is that what you call it, trampoline? You just get on, bounce up, flip around, break your neck, you know? And that's, so Steve, that wasn't, my father didn't build that, it was the neighbors, but that was fun, wasn't it? He bounced with me. We're bouncing on a trampoline at 8. I didn't even know what age we were. Anyway, hi Steve. I'll Facebook Messenger you later.
Is this thing on?
Method. There's kind of an order that I would write songs. Lyrically, titles and all that. Between each record, if I see something on TV or in a newspaper or somebody says something, I'll just write it right on this phone in the notepad section. And at the end of the year, I might have 20 good titles or 40 or 30, whatever. And when I'm writing the lyrics the next year for a song, I'll look and see if there's any good titles. Maybe it gives me an idea. And the method, the way I write, has always pretty much been come up with a guitar riff, I'll write the drums around it, add the bass, do the music first, then I'll go to my titles and any lyrics, but usually the lyrics are written after the music's finished. It's a real tough one for me to talk about that because some albums Annihilator has done have been on lower budgets, some bigger budgets, and that does not necessarily mean that the bigger budgets, the drums would sound better and the smaller, you know, sometimes it's the opposite. Some records I've used a drum software called Superior Drummer from Tune Tracks, and just one of the many popular drum programs that people are using, but that was kind of one of the biggest, earliest ones. So I would program and write the drums there, and I would either hire a drummer like Mike Mangini or Randy Black or some great drummers to record, or if we didn't have the budget to do the drums, which is probably the most expensive part of recording now, is drum engineer, drum studio, and drummer. Because no matter what you think, behind the scenes, the reality is a lot of good drummers, but only a very small amount of drummers that can play great in the studio. There's a lot of audio engineers in studios around the world, and only a small amount of them are really good at drums. I'm not good at miking drum kits, I'm not good at that. And there's, you know, so it's an art form. And to buy 500 euros, pounds, dollars worth of good drum software, you don't get as good a quality as a real drummer. But if you don't have $30,000 to hire a drummer and go to a good studio, then you have to use the software, right? So, but when I do drums with Annihilator with real drummers, I've been lucky enough to work with some of the best drummers: Ray Hartman, Randy Black, Mike Mangini, Dream Theater, Steve Vai, Extreme, all that. What do I look for? Well, I think I've turned more into, after the first few Annihilator records, which had all the feel, because the drumming was all over the place timing-wise, but there was something magical about the feel of the drumming. It was incredible. I slid into the robot computer, perfect timing kind of stuff. Too much, but I just loved it. I like the preciseness of drums and playing the guitar perfectly to the drums. So after the Set the World on Fire record on King of the Kill I wanted more of a machine drummer, so go for the more perfection and timing.